From a contaminant point of view, we're regulated by European Union directives as a dairy processing plant. So we have categories of contaminants. Typically that would be around organochlorides, it would be around heavy metals, and it would be around residual compounds that would be in the product. So based on risk, we would have a testing matrix based on each of these that we would either test in the milk, in the finished product, or in both.
And then how often?
It depends on the risk profile of the contaminant that we would be testing for, but typically it could be anything from 3 months up to 12 months.
Okay.
We also have a regulatory system in place where we are looking outwards into the horizon to look at up and coming contaminants that may be affecting the food industry, it may be affecting our milk, it may be affecting our packaging, and we take actions before those regulation due dates come into force to make sure that we're in compliance with all of these requirements.
So what types of standards do you hold your milk to, especially when it comes to grass-fed dairy for our protein?
We have legal requirements that we hold our milk to, which is testing for somatic cell count. We also test for total bacterial count. We test for lactose content. So those are fairly basic requirements that are in place across the whole lot of the European Union. So our laboratory tests each farmer sample that's coming into the system on a periodic basis to make sure we're in compliance with these requirements. From the point of view of product quality, then we have some additional testing that we would test in process and we would test in the finished powder afterwards. So this could range on anything from total solids of the product as it's coming through the system, all the way through to microbiological, chemical, physio-functional characteristics of the product at the end. So if we're drying product, it's quite easy to get to a certain moisture level, to get to a certain protein level. But if you want to have the right wettability criteria, if you want to have something that's good in the UHT application, for instance, there are some additional tests that we would do on that, and we would work those requirements back into our manufacturing process.
What metrics do you use to analyze the quality of the truly grass-fed protein products?
Of the protein product? Yeah. It depends generally on the customer specification, but the core criteria we would test for would be the amount of protein, which is obviously a key selling point for your product and for what we're selling you as well. We'd also look at moisture content, which could have an impact potentially on shelf life of the product, for instance, depending on the application that you're putting it into. And also we may look at physical and functional characteristics as well that are important to you in your manufacturing process. We may look at specific fractions of the product if you're buying it from the point of view of fractions of protein, etc., that we may look at, but we are quite flexible. It depends on the customer specification that we agree to, but we do have a core amount of tests which I just mentioned there, which will be part of our manufacturing specification, which would be the general release of the product. Any customer specific requirements then would be in addition to that.
What is an average day in the life for you look like?
Working as part of a quality team in a very large manufacturing site, it does change from day to day, which is part of what I love about my role. I look after, as I was saying, the quality of incoming materials coming into the plant. So I prefer to have a quality assurance approach in that to make sure that our suppliers know the quality characteristics that we're requesting from them, instead of testing product afterwards, which is effectively firefighting. So a lot of my work that I do is about building relationships and building quality standards with our suppliers, particularly new suppliers coming into the system. Another part of my role would be the maintenance of our accreditation of the truly grass-fed standard from non-GMO project that we sell our product to. So I deal directly with the accrediting body in the United States for that particular standard, and I make sure that our process, as it's set out, maintains guarantees the integrity of that standard as we manufacture product for you during these specified campaigns.
A lot of consumers are worried about growth hormone contamination as well as pesticide contamination in their dairy products. What do you guys do to ensure that doesn't enter your products?
Certainly, Billy, from our point of view, we have to make sure that all of our inputs into our manufacturing plant do not have hormones. So, as you can see behind you, we have a very good relationship with the farmers that we are using, or that are supplying milk to us. We have a sustainability and a quality assurance team which is on the ground as well to advise these farmers and to make sure that they're following the law, because within Europe it is the law that you cannot add these growth hormones into dairy products or into beef products or anything that's coming into the food chain from an agribusiness point of view. From a testing point of view, we have our contaminant testing frequency, which we would engage on the basis of risk. But from the point of view of farmer awareness, from the point of view of the farmer's approval with the Department of Agriculture here as an individual operator, hormones are totally and utterly out from an Irish point of view.